All right, hello everyone. I'm going to call our meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a series of approval of minutes. Our first is approval of the minutes of the June 1st, 2015 work session meeting.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. Approval of the June 22nd, 2016 work session meeting.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. And I think this is a special council meeting for June 29th, 2015, instead of a work session. Is that correct? Okay. All right, so this will be an approval of the June 29th, 2015 special council meeting.
Move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. July 6, 2015 regular meeting minutes approval.
Move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And finally, July 20th, 2015 regular meeting minutes approval.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved 4-0. For announcements and presentations, we have Nyhart Incorporated here to present regarding OPEB and pension plan update. I know they presented in detail at an earlier work session. I'd like to call them to the podium for a presentation for the public.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Very good. Thank you for having us. My name is Carter Angel. I am an actuary with Nyhart. I've been working on the plan here for about 7 years here now, so ever since Nyhart's been the actuary for the plan. Elizabeth Wiley is here with me as well, and she's also been working on the plan for about 4 years now. So, as Matthew mentioned, we're going to go over high-level results for both the pension plan and the OPEB. If we flip to page 3, we had some significant changes for this year as far as assumptions go. We updated the discount rate that we use to measure liabilities from 7.5% to 7.2%. This change resulted in an increase of liabilities of about $4.5 million. We also updated the mortality assumption to a new table that the Society of Actuaries released. This increased the liabilities by about 1% or about $1 million. We feel these assumptions are appropriate and reasonable for the long-term expectation of measuring costs for the plan. One other big change we made this year was how we determine the contribution recommendation. In past years, we would determine the contribution sort of during the year for that plan year. Instead, now we're projecting it out and doing it a year in advance for budget purposes. So at July 1 of 2015, we determined the contribution that we recommend be made for the 2016 to 2017 time period, again, to allow for budgeting purposes. If we flip to page 5, just real quick, look at the participants over the last 5-6 years. The population has remained relatively flat, both from an active perspective and a total perspective. There are about 260 people at July 1, 2010. There's about 255 now active employees that are participants in the pension plan. The average age has gone up a little bit, along with average service, and as one might expect, pay has as well. The retirees have grown a little bit, but not a ton, and we would expect that number probably to plateau off in a little bit here as just the population flattens out as people come in and out of the plan there. If we look at page 7, benefit payments, the trend is for them to go up, and that's an expectation that we would continue to see. In 2010 to 2011 plan year, payments to retirees were about $3.2 million. The return of employee contributions there you see at about $50,000 in that year. That will fluctuate from year to year, just depending on how many participants leave employment who are not yet vested in a retirement benefit. For this last plan year, benefit payments were about $4.2 million. The main reason for that increase is due to the COLA that retirees receive. And then the second reason is just an increase in the retiree population. Again, the total retiree population increased by about 10% over the last 5-6 years or so. Flip to page 10, just highlights again of the assumptions we use. The discount rate, we use 7.2%. Again, we lowered that from 7.5%. And what that discount rate represents is what we expect to measure liabilities at in the future, and then simultaneously what we expect assets to earn over the long-term period. The pay increase assumption there, that is a total pay increase, so that includes raises for merit, raises for promotion, raises for inflation, et cetera. So it's not just maybe on someone's base pay, if you will. It's all components of salary. And that salary scale was determined and created based on an experience study that we did both in 2012 and 2015. The mortality table we're using pretty much the latest and greatest mortality table. The Society of Actuaries released a table in fall of 2014 that looked at mortality experience from 2004 to 2008. And that's the table we're using now. We do make an adjustment to it for police and fire, for blue collar adjustment there. Page 11, just a brief asset reconciliation. There are two lines down there at the bottom, market value of assets of about $71.6 million, and that's just exactly what was in the trust at July 1 of 14. The line below that called plan assets, that's the smooth value of assets, and that is the figure we use to compare to the liabilities and the figure we use to determine the contribution for the year. And what that is every year there's a gain or loss on assets from what was actually earned versus what was expected to be earned, and we smooth those gains and losses in over 5 years. And the point of that is to eliminate some of the volatility from the contribution changing every year. You can see at the end, though, just due to the way the gains and losses have been over the last 5 years, they're about the same number, $74 million in market value of assets and a smooth value of assets of about $74.4 million. Our very simple calculation of what assets earned during the 2014-2015 period is that they earned about 0.6%. We expected 7.5%. So that's about a $5 million difference in the assets. And just in a 1-year snapshot, what that means is over the next, however long, $5 million more has to come into the plan because we didn't get it from an investment return. If you look long-term, though, at next page, on page 12, or a little longer time period, you look over the last 7 years, and the plans earned about 6.1% on average. So, a little bit below that bogey of 7.2, but not a ton. So. If we combine all those inputs, assumptions, and assets, we look at the funded status of the plan. As of July 1, 2015, liabilities for the pension plan were about $121.7 million and assets of about $74 million, so the plan was about 60% funded. There was about a $5 million increase due to assumption changes, mainly, again, the discount rate and the mortality table change. So if we had not made those changes, the liabilities would be about $116.7 million. But again, we believe those changes are currently the best assumptions out there available for us to be using to measure the real costs that we expect the plan to be. Page 14 is the annual cost of benefits earned. And what this figure represents, it's as a percentage of pay, and it's the cost of benefits that are being earned by participants during the plan year beginning July 1, 2015. And this is an employer-only number. So if the plan was fully funded, we would say that this plan would cost you about 15% of pay, or about $2 million for this, again, this plan year we're in. Costs, if we flip to the next page, are higher than that because we are underfunded by about $47 million. And so we take that unfunded liability and we amortize it over 20 years, and we try and pay off a portion of it each year, just basically like a mortgage on a home. So for the 2016 to 2017 plan year, again, this is that projected contribution we've determined. We have a preliminary contribution of $5.7 million, and what that is if we had fully implemented the discount rate change, we actually are smoothing that change in over 3 years so that the hit from it isn't sort of realized all in 1 year. If we had not changed any assumptions at all, the recommended contribution would have been about $5.3 million. So we take just a third of the way through between those two numbers, and we have a recommended contribution of about $5.4 million for the 2016 to 2017 plan year. And again, that in total is about 42% of pay, with about 25% of that coming from just making up for unfunded liability from the past. And there's some interest in there just to account for timing of when we expect that contribution to be made. Looking at page 17, summary of annual cost. You can see this is just a short history, but for the years 2011, 2012 through 2013, 2014, the full ARC was not contributed, and that has lent to the plan being underfunded as it is. And years before that, I think back to about 2003, the full ARC had not been contributed either. The good news is the town appears to be on a good path as far as making the contributions. They made almost $5 million in this most recent plan year, and they're expected to contribute about $5.3 million in 2015, 2016. So, one of the questions we were asked is the pension plan sustainable? And the short answer is if the town can afford to put the ARC in as projected over the next 20 years or so, the plan is sustainable. The plan will be about 100% funded after 20 years if, again, you continue to put that ARC in, and assuming our assets earn close to that 7.2%, again, long-term over 20 years. So, page 19. So all that information was funding results. Cash recommendation, contribution.
In last year's budget, we
Yes.
put in, I thought we put in 5.3. Last year's. Meaning the year where, like last April, what we put in, would we put in 5.3? Okay, and then next year we're projecting what amount?
Well, go ahead, Laura. You probably have that answer, not me.
Okay, so, but no, I'm just saying last April we put in 5.3. I thought I heard 4.9, that's why I just wanted to.
I think our figure showed from July 1 of 2014 to June 30th of 2015, $5 million went in.
That's correct, yeah.
And
And
then
then this year.
July 1, 15 to June 30, 16, I think 5.3 is going to go in.
Okay, yes, okay.
Page 19. So this is again an accounting number. It's for the town's financial statements, and it's an expense number. So it's made up of a lot of components. Primarily the cost of benefits being earned during the year, just interest on the liability, and then some other, what you expect to earn on assets, et cetera. From an accounting perspective, the expense for the plan, we said for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2015, was $5.28 million. It's not tied to your funding numbers, although we would expect they would be pretty similar over the long period. Page 20, again, at June 30th, 2015, the liabilities are about $118 million. That's different than the $121 million a few pages earlier due to essentially timing. We use, for the funding valuation, we use data as of July 1 of 2015, but for the GASB, we use data as of July 1 of 2014 and roll it forward. It's always a year behind. It doesn't make, I guess what we would say is a material difference. If there was material events that occurred during the plan year that would require us to update that data reconciliation, or that data, excuse me, we would do so, but there wasn't this year. And we probably don't expect them generally, unless, again, a significant event occurs. So, page 23, just some long-term cost projections. Again, the big picture up top, the line graphs there, those have explicit numbers we could put to them, but the idea is just the trend of it. We expect that recommended contribution to go up for the next 17 years or so. And the main reason for that is due to the amortization method we are using. We're using what's called a level percent of pay. So contributions are a little lower at the beginning, and then they get higher as we go throughout the projection period. That steep drop in 2035-ish or so is because we expect the plan to be about 100% funded at that point. You're no longer paying off any unfunded liability. Your home's essentially all paid for, and you're just paying sort of the ongoing cost of benefits being earned by participants during the year. The three different lines there, red, black, and blue, are based on different asset expectations for the 2015 to 2016 plan year only, and sort of, I don't know, I guess quasi-realistic for 7 months into the year. The red line says assets earned minus 10% this year. The black line says we earned minus 5%, and the blue line represents a 0% return for 2015, 2016. Last page on the pension, Page 24, this just shows you long-term, again, what happens if we don't earn 7.2% as we are assuming. The red line says we earn 6.2%, so you can see, again, over the next 15 years, 20 years or so, the contributions are going to be that much higher than if we earn 7.2, the black line, or if we earn 8.2% in the blue line. You can see that blue line, we drop to being fully funded much earlier because we're earning more than we expect. And the red line is a little further out because we're earning less than what we expect over that long time period. So, any questions on the pension? I'll try and make up my time here in the OPEB. So, and do you have the OPEB presentation, Beth, or do you? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know who had the. Ramon, I'm sorry. Sure. Mike. Thanks, Mike. We'll go to page 3. Liabilities, they change. Oh, excuse me, I skipped a page. Page 2. On the OPEB side, we also updated mortality to essentially the same table that we're using on the pension side. And again, just the expectation that people are living longer. There will be, generally we expect some updates to this mortality improvement scale that are used every year, and we'll review that and usually probably implement that most years. The change will be pretty negligible though. We'll see that the increase on the town side was much larger than the school, and that's because the town has a lot of post-Medicare subsidies, so that mortality impacts those retirees much more than it does for the school side. Healthcare trend assumption, we continually reevaluate that assumption. It's a look-forward assumption, and we say it's about 9% going forward, and that trends down to 5% over the next 8 years. Page 3 for the school liabilities, they were about $3.1 million. Last year, or that's what they were expected to be, but due to experience and assumption changes, they increased about $300,000, so $3.4 million in liability. And town, it was about $60.1 million, and we had some good experience. I think some changes in plan design, as well as just, again, retiree and or participant experience. So the liabilities dropped by about $3.2 million, but the assumption changes, essentially just the mortality change, was an increase of $1.5 million, and we end up with $59 million in liabilities. We look at page 4. I apologize, we've got a slight typo there. The 7113 column header should really be 7114 in both the town and school columns there. And you can just see the splits between pre-Medicare coverage and post-Medicare coverage for both active employees and retired employees in both the school and the town there. There are about $2.5 million in assets in the OPEB fund now as well. Page 5, these are projected pay-go costs. So just what we expect cost of benefits to be during the given year, not from a funding the plan standpoint recommended contribution. This is just for a given year, just the cost that's going to be, we would expect in that year. Excuse me. The most recent number was about $1.9 million as a pay-go number. I think the contribution was about $2.3 million, so about 19-20% higher than what the pay-go figure was. Not quite the full arc though, so there is a question that I think the town should consider of from an OPEB perspective and pension perspective as well. Are these costs sustainable? And if they are, then over the long term, if you can afford to pay the arc or the pay-go, then it's just up to the town to decide if they're going to continue to have those same level of benefits. Some things you can do if those costs become too high or if the risk becomes too high. You can always continue to look at plan design and the cost. I know the town has already engaged NIHARD to do that, both on the pension side and the OPEB. But just as time passes, budgets change, et cetera, that can always be done again. One of the trends is towards cost shifting to retirees. You transition to a high deductible plan for pre-Medicare retirees, or you can transition to a Medicare Advantage plan for Medicare retirees. One prudent recommendation to do would be to fund it like the pension plan. Most OPEB plans in general are not funded. I think just because there's a lot less regulation for OPEB plans, both in the private and public sector. But if you fund the plan, or you put in that full arc, you can earn asset performance on it, and that can help sort of, I don't maybe want to say lower the cost, but it helps you get that unfunded liability shrinking. The other thing we can do, and I think NIHARD and Laura work on this already, is you can avoid surprises with long-term projections of both liabilities and assets, just to look to see how we expect them to be in the future. Page 7, the pension side went through a change in the accounting standards. They went from GASB 2527 to GASB 6768. On the OPEB side, there's going to be a similar change. On the balance sheet right now for the OPEB plan, I think it's about $23 million. Under these rule changes, if those were in place today, the liability instead would be the $58.5 million that I mentioned earlier, the 61.4 in total liabilities versus the $2.5 million in assets. So that's a change that is coming for fiscal year end 2017. Some of the other changes are just have to disclose more data in your accounting figures and statements versus what you had to in the past. And you have to use a certain cost method for how we measure the liabilities of the plan. Any questions on either the pension or the OPEB?
Thank
Okay.
you.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and giving us this presentation as well. It helps to set us up for the budget season, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
I just had one question for Laura. Just one question. What's our total unfunded liability? Bonds? No, everything. The whole shooting match. I don't have that on top of me. Okay. Maybe when you get a chance, round that up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, do we have any, Richard, do you want to comment? Okay.
It'd either be now or at the open forum, so it's directly related to this topic. Let me be bold again on the subject or subjects of pensions and OPEB, but really they're one subject. They're not two subjects. COLAs must be capped at a max of $300 per year permanently. This immediately will solve our pension problem. Gone. And this will allow us to apply more money to the trust fund for OPEB. And really, there really should be one trust fund for pensions and OPEB. We have two. There really should be one. Now, some employees must have their functions privatized. That would save a bundle. We must no longer subsidize Medicare. We are subsidizing Medicare for retirees. Medicare needs to be subsidized. There's no doubt about that, but why us do we kick in for this? And we have got to stop subsidizing health care for retirees who take a new job when they retire at 45, 48. Part of their deal many times is, well, you don't have to cover me. Narragansett is covering me. Good God, this is not healthy. I would suggest you do a very important statement from the Beatitudes. Blessed be the meek, for they shall be stepped on. And if we continue to be meek, let's be bold enough to change the name of the state of Rhode Island, which is now the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, to the state of Rhode Island and Public Employee Plantations.
Thank you, Stan.
I can't follow that man. He's really good, isn't he? Yeah.
It's a different version of the Beatitudes.
What I see is we had a return of 0.6%, yet we're looking at 7.2%. And if we don't get close to that 7.2%, this $100 million, approximately only $100 million bill will be much worse. So I think we got a bigger disaster. You know, they say it's going to get paid off in 20 years, and we only need 5.3 million each year, but I think we're in for a bigger disaster than that, which tells me we've got to make some significant changes. Maybe he's got an idea there on his COLAs. I don't know. I trust the professor. He must know. So I'd follow his advice. However, I look here, average age, 46 to 47, retiring. Average service, 10, 11 years. You're in negotiations now. We got to stop this. You retire at least after 20 years or when you're 62. Not 10 years. 20 years of service. 62 years old. That's more appropriate. And you don't retire at 40-some years old. Sorry about that. I can 62 it should be, but I mean, if you want to make a step halfway and go 55, maybe we can do that, you know? But this is a goal that you should do right now in the contract negotiations that you're doing right now. Make a small step. You must be at least 55 or 62, whichever you want to choose, and compromise somewhere. And you must have 20 years of service. And of course, throw in the COLAs because he must be right on that. And we must do that now. Because you're in negotiation, you have the responsibility to do that now. The other issue is pay increases. You know, ABCOR says they had no pay increase. Social Security, no pay increase. Right now, minimum pay increases. You know, it's hard for me to even justify the cost of living when nobody else is doing that today. So we've got to be a little firm. Do we have a finance guru at these negotiations that can tell us the impact on taxpayers while you're doing negotiations?
Laura's in the negotiations.
So she is in there. So she tells you the impact for us, and that's a good thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Nyhart from the council? Yeah. You did it, yeah. All right, well, thank you again. We'll move on to our town and state project updates. I don't know if Jeff had anything on there.
The only thing I would note is that we were advised today that J.H. Lynch, working for National Grid's Sea to Shore, the Deepwater Wind Project, will be mobilizing and starting the construction work on that project on the road portions of it. They've been doing some of the directional drill work at Scarborough Beach throughout the course of the winter, but they will now be doing test pits to verify utility locations and then starting the installation of the duct bank work on Burnside Avenue and Point Judith Road. That work will continue through Memorial Day, at which point it will be suspended until after Labor Day when they will resume. They'll also start working on the switchyard station at the DOT salt barn simultaneously.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Our next item, we have the open forum, public comment portion of the meeting for issues that are issues for the public and issues that are affecting the town. Is there anyone who would like to speak at public comment? Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Melinda Howard, and I'm going to read this because if I start talking, I'll talk too long. I'm the Senior Community Outreach Manager for Smart Power. Some of you may know me from my work in state and national politics, and I actually lived in Narragansett in the 70s. Smart Power is a national nonprofit marketing firm with 15 years of working experience, literally from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. We use a campaign-style approach to change energy use habits. I'm here to talk to you about our work with National Grid and Rhode Island municipalities on the community-based, online, on-the-ground energy efficiency campaign, the Rhode Island Energy Challenge Find Your Four. And each of you has a green packet with some material in it. The challenge asks residents to pledge to take 4 simple energy efficiency actions at home, at work, and at school. The goal is to get the equivalent of 5% of Narragansett households, or 496 pledges. Upon reaching that goal, the town of Narragansett will be given a grant from National Grid of $5,000. Through the challenge, you will be able to make residents more aware of energy use, engage the public in sustainability issues, and earned the champion status along with the $5,000 grant. Our first program in Rhode Island began back in 2003, and we're proud of our long history here, and we hope to continue that work by providing staff, materials, message, and graphics to make Narragansett the next Rhode Island Energy Champion. And I can tell you the program works. In 2013, Rhode Island was ranked 6th nationally for energy efficiency. In 2015, which was the second year of our work here, we were 3rd in the country. So I can give you guys lots of facts and figures, and if you have any questions, I only used 1.5 minutes.
Everybody just got their packets, right?
Yeah, we just got the package.
So Melinda, you left everybody a nice green
I
packet.
left everybody a packet. We partner with the municipality. We'll have 3 staff people on the ground to work. If you look through your packet, you'll see that we work with existing organizations within your community. The goal is to get people to pledge, and that's really important to remember, pledge. We never contact them, try to sell them anything. We do send them energy tips. So the goal is to get your residents to pledge to be more energy efficient.
So Melinda, since everybody just got the packet, would it be fair enough if everybody reviews it? You have your card in here, if we could each, weigh in with you at some point?
Okay, that would be great.
I mean,
All right.
everybody could,
Yep.
I know you just got it today.
How many households you need?
400.
Just under
40.
500.
100 each. So we each got a pledge, get 100 each.
We certainly want your effort,
Sure.
your contacts, but we will bring people here. We'll work with, hopefully, all of municipal employees to get the word out, and with organizations here in town, Little League, Girl Scouts, the churches, whatever organizations that are in place that we can work with.
I mean, I know a little bit about it and I support it. I'm just wondering, generally speaking, men, do you like the concept?
Sure.
Like I said, I just got the packet too, but
Being energy efficient?
this being open forum, we're not really allowed to engage in a back and forth repertoire, because then it becomes like an unscheduled
Absolutely.
agenda item. So we appreciate your presentation. I'm sure we'll all take it under consideration.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melinda.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment, open forum? All right, our next item is a public hearing continuance, a motion to continue a public hearing on a petition for abandonment from John R. Sahajian for the eastern half of Harris Avenue on Assessor Plat P to add to Assessor's Plat P, Lot 96, to March 21st, 2016.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion. So March 21st, do we have a heavy agenda that night? I just want to, do we know?
Yeah, I don't think we know yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that we slated the 4 unrelated for the 21st, I thought.
I would say to continue it to this date, and if we know more by March 7th, we can always adjust it again then.
Okay, great. All right, I just wanted to put that out there because I know that was, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Next item is our consent agenda. Is there any item that someone would like removed from the consent agenda? Chris? No? No. All right, hearing none.
I'll make
is
a-
motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Item number 19 is a motion to approve the request from Road Races and Events Incorporated to conduct a new Ocean State Road Race Half Marathon and 5K road race to be held on Sunday, October 30th, 2016, from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., subject to approval of state and local regulations.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion. I believe this item comes from Steve.
Steve, I think it said it was approved by the Bonnet Shores Fire District as well? And it's 7:30 to 1:30, not 13, right? 7:30 to 1:30.
Yes, good evening.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I thought I read that it was approved by the district already. Just confirming that.
I have the race coordinators here if you want to also speak to them, but as far as I know, it's been approved by the Bonnet Shores Association, and it's been approved by Fire and Police and Public Works also.
I'm good.
So are you going to give us a background on, or is the organizer going to? Okay.
Hi, I'm Karen Zions. I am with Road Races and Events Incorporated, and my colleague and I used to work for Iden Sports Marketing. We separated from Iden Sports Marketing and opened our own firm, and this is the race that the two of us worked on last year that we're going to do again this year. So we were the boots on the ground last year, and things went really well. Councilman Rinaldi stopped by and sent us an email congratulating us last year on a good job that we did. So we're happy to be back.
That was the issue that we had last year. We were unsure of. There was some conversation about some unsettledness about that race, right? Is that the one? Yes. And to our knowledge, everything went fine with that race, correct? There were no issues, because I know there was a discussion and there was some concerns around that, but at the end of the day, it was fine.
Yes.
I thought so. Okay. Just want to get all my facts straight before I vote on this.
And now, does the money on this go to charity, or what is the?
Some of the proceeds do go to charity. We use charitable organizations as volunteer groups, and they get a charitable contribution in exchange for volunteering, same as we did last year.
So what portion of it goes to charity?
Last year, we donated close to $10,000.
And what happens with the rest of the proceeds?
We're a for-profit company.
Okay.
We use the funds to pay the police and fire here in town. We pay for the beach fees. We pay for permits. We pay for food for the athletes, tents, toilets, barricades, traffic safety. There's a lot of expenses that go into putting on a race.
No alcoholic beverages.
No,
Okay. Just
unfortunately.
Sneakers. Don't forget the sneakers.
okay.
Sorry. Yep.
All right, I had expressed concerns about the road race before, and I think that I hear from people in town that we have a certain number of road races and that they don't really want to see an increase in them. And we have a certain number, a handful that are kind of grandfathered in. And many of the ones that we have, like the Lions Club, the Blessing of the Fleet, they really, everything goes to charity on these races. So I just have a concern about expanding the road races. It's a concern that I've had. A lot of the road races are not in the north end of town, which kind of block all of Boston Neck Road. And I'm concerned also about the staff time from Parks and Recreation and the police department that would be devoted to it. So I'm not, I'm not going to be in favor of the road race as I was last time, the same as last time. So for those reasons, I just think we have the staff time that, we always talk about watching our budgets, and that, Parks and Rec have to do that, and the police. And I have a concern I am hearing more and more about complaints about the road races and expanding them. And I like that we have kind of our set list, so.
Speaking of the stress on the police and fire, I met with the police department after, we always do like a wrap-up after the race, and they felt that they could reduce the number of police officers because things did go so well last year, and that we could supplement with what we call course marshals, which are volunteers that help to direct the runners, and we wouldn't have needed as many cruisers nor as many police. So that would lessen the stress on the department a bit.
That's good news.
Okay.
Steve, just to, from my memory again, so we capped it at 10 races from May to, can you just go over that again? Because anything additional beyond the 10 has to come to the council, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have our annual races that are from May 1st to September 30th, and anything outside that window, we put on a new agenda. That's correct.
So it's somewhat controlled. I mean, it used to be more and more, but I mean, now it's at least those standard races, and anything beyond that, you have to get approval by the council.
That's correct.
Okay. I just always forget it was September, though. May to September, right?
May 1st to September 30th.
Thank you.
We worked with Steve to come up with a date that would be amenable to the town so that it wouldn't be disruptive, it wouldn't fall outside of the race calendar. And then, to, Mr. Mannix, to your point also, there are many race companies that do races in this town that are on your schedule that are for-profit companies. They also donate to charities, but they are not completely charitable organizations.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Motion approved, 3-1.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Item number 20 is a motion to approve the purchase of miscellaneous equipment for the ladder truck from Shipman's Fire Equipment Company, Incorporated, in the amount of $64,551.21 using the State of Connecticut contract.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion.
This is just for the equipment on the truck, right? Scott, yeah, right? Yeah.
Part of that
Any
grant.
questions for Scott? This item comes from Scott. Any questions for Scott?
No, it's grant money, and I went over the list, and I can't begin to explain where all this stuff is. But it's all right.
There, if we got it, if we need it.
I just wanted to ask if there's there's not three quotes on this line item. The state of Connecticut is the cheapest fella, and we know that for sure. Is that, I just wanted to question that.
Well, it's
Jeff.
part of it. It's part of a competitive bidding process that was managed by the state of Connecticut. We participate in regional and national bidding processes, Greater Boston, State of Connecticut, the National Joint Powers Alliance. There are probably a half a dozen that we participate in. So all of these items were at one point in the not too distant past bid out. So
Yeah,
this was
sorry.
bid by the State of Connecticut. Shipment is located just over the line in Waterford.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item number 21. A motion to waive the current policy and authorize the use of the general plumbing services contract with Stedman and Kazunis Plumbing and Heating Incorporated for the purchase and installation of one new boiler at the towers in the amount not to exceed $67,552.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion. This item comes from Mike. Are there any questions for Mike?
Stanley has a question.
We're not very
Yeah.
curious tonight, so.
No, he vetted it. It's a big building.
Good evening.
So basically, instead of going with one big boiler, you want to go 2 or 3 smaller boilers to cover the same area, more efficient, and we stick them up in the attic, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Stan, come on.
I just had the same question again. Is it possible that we could have checked this price with 2 or 3 other bidders to verify? 3 boilers, I don't know, 20,000 each. I don't know. Is that a lot of high side? Chris, you know all that. They're efficiency boilers. I put one in, I think, for 12 or 15. I don't know.
I met with staff earlier today and again before the meeting, and I went over this, and I'm pretty satisfied that this is fine.
That's right.
It's a different concept of heating, but your question is, should it be sent out to public bid and get the prices? A lot of this stuff is almost like a design build concept going into it. The price is $67,552 or something like. I'm okay with it. It's much more of a complicated system than we're used to.
And anytime you gravitate towards a sole source situation, there's a tendency for us to overpay, and maybe only 10 or 15% in this case. And I like Stebbin Kazunas, I like those guys. They did a lot of work for me in the past. I hate to come up here and argue this issue, but to be consistent, I just want to promote the idea of using a few vendors to guarantee that we maintain the minimum cost.
I looked at it too, because I figure a standard boiler, $4,500, 3 times 3, say $15,000 right there. Add for a cost effect for a commercial brand, 25 tops. And then you go up from there with the whole concept of changing the whole system out, ripping out, putting new. You have to relocate to one of the peaks in the tower there, create a new chamber there. It's just it gets a little more complicated than I thought before I met with staff on it. So.
Okay.
And see, Stebbin Kazunas, they know the project. There's a level of respect and comfort that we deal with them there. I know what you're talking about. Everything I get sticker shock from everything these days. So.
Chris,
the older you get, the worse it is.
If I can too, Stan, and perhaps this will put your mind a little bit more at ease. The contract with Steadman and Kazunas was bid out. It was publicly bid out a year and a half ago. And they have provided us labor rates. And I know this is not your favorite subject, but obviously prevailing wages must be paid on it. Yeah. So we have a bid in place that was publicly bid for Steadman and Kazunas' rates. This is a not-to-exceed cost. The town will monitor this project in terms of the actual man-hours expended. So that part of it is competitively bid. The other part of Steadman and Kazunas' bid, again, that was part of that public solicitation, is that they have a fixed markup on materials and equipment. So, if a boiler costs them $5, they can't charge us $10. They can only charge us what they bid as the markup for that. So there is a system of controls in place, and as Chris said, it's more of a design-build nature too. We did not ask for any design money for this. We didn't hire a mechanical engineering firm to do it. We're relying on Steadman and Kazuna's expertise along with the staff expertise. It's a similar system to what we put in Town Hall a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But we will monitor the costs very carefully.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item 22 is a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 78 Utilities, Article 3 Sewers, Section 78-333, Construction by Private Parties, Cost Recovery.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
This is a second reading, is that correct, Ann? Second reading of this ordinance, and the cost, this is extending from 5 to 10 years, the time within which people can tie in to an existing project. Any questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved, 4-0. Item 23 is a motion to schedule a work session to review the beach trolley proposal from South County Trolley and Transportation, LLC.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion?
We have a date, March 7th, 6:30.
All right, so March 7th at 6:30 p.m. Jeff, this came up at the last meeting, this trolley proposal and the work session, which was originally going to be slated for the 7th. And I don't sit on the EDC. It seemed like there was simply just one request that was being looked for, but that was not the case. We found out afterwards. If you want to just explain why
There were a
we're
lot
doing a
of
work
moving
session instead of,
parts.
and I just wasn't aware. I told them, I said, come the next meeting, but there's more to it. If you could just give a little
Yeah,
overview.
there are a few moving parts to it regarding the use of the school parking lots and regarding what authority the town has to grant this type of a agreement. There's also some issues that have been raised relative to licensing at the PUC for a trolley transportation company. We're meeting with the applicant tomorrow at the staff level, and I hopefully will have more information that I can provide you later this week on that. It may or may not negate the need for the work session. I'll know better tomorrow once we meet with the Sullivans and kind of fine-tune the things. But Steve Wright went through it, Dawson went through it, I reviewed it. We came up with a list of questions that we'd like the Sullivans to answer. And that may change whether or not we need the work session. But I'd like to schedule it for now just to be safe.
Yeah, so Jeff, if you work things out with those, with all the department heads and what it involves, would you come to the workshop with sort of a draft, a proposal for us?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I read, and I read it a couple of times, there are a lot of moving parts, but obviously it's a great concept. So I'm hoping that you're going to meet with those different groups and come to a meeting of the minds and bring a draft proposal to the workshop. That would be, as opposed to having it dissolve and go away.
And I'll know tomorrow, I'll know better tomorrow after the meeting with them.
Mr. Mann, got a question.
Go ahead. Oh, Richard.
I'd just like to emphasize how important this work session is and the preliminary draft. The public sector has tried this a number of times, and it just didn't stay with it for good reason. Public elections are short, public tempers are short. Unless it's amazingly successful, the public sector doesn't necessarily stay with it. And I think it's about time we gave the private sector a chance with a longer run capability, not up for re-elections, not up for nasty comments at open forums, more willing to take a risk. But we must help these companies minimize the risk they're taking. Anything we can do to help minimize the risk is going to help us. A successful trolley system means a much more successful Narragansett. So I don't think we have to necessarily give away the ship, but if we can do things to help this particular company in the private sector to do it, we're all going to be a lot better off.
So that's a great point. Jeff, I just want to make sure that we're not going to tomorrow just abandon the workshop, because I really urge the council to sit and hear what the proposals are and weigh in. So I feel like if tomorrow you have a conversation with, say, South County Trolley and it doesn't work out, we don't know all the details. So can we just schedule the workshop so we can have that dialogue with you and whoever, just either way?
I'd like to schedule a workshop, and
Either-
it may end up being somewhat of a moot point if we resolve all the major issues tomorrow, but let's schedule the workshop
Yeah,
anyway.
just so we can be in the loop.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm in favor of it, so I just don't want things to go away.
Yeah, I think this meeting tomorrow is to pretty much tick off the list of possible problems that we're going to run into before we go to the workshop. But to Richard's point, we've tried a trolley system in the past a couple times. It wasn't really that successful, and the town paid the contract on the trolley. The difference here is the trolley company is funding the whole thing, so it's a freebie for the town. That's the major difference, and we're going to iron out the routes they're taking and permission and what we're going to need from the school department and things like that. But I think we'll be fine with it.
Okay, so for the motion to schedule, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Next is Item 24, Town Council President reappoints 2 individuals to the Historic District Commission for 3-year terms to expire on January 1st, 2019. So, so under the Historic District Commission rules, this is the way this was set up, is that an appointment that I just announced. Is that correct?
Because there aren't any applicants.
Yeah. So here we go. So I'm going to appoint for the 3-year terms Maura Hintza for the first of them and Sandra Panzeri for the second Historic District Commission appointment, both of which expire January 1st, 2019. Okay. Item number 25 is a motion to reappoint an individual to the Board of Canvassers for a 6-year term, which will expire March 1st, 2022, and appoint an individual to fill an unexpired term, which will expire March 2020, and appoint 2 individuals as alternates for a 1-year term, which will expire March 1st, 2017.
So I would like to appoint Carter Starr as an alternate on that Board of Canvassers. I think we have Richard Bourbonnais is on there and Jerry Reynolds.
Susan, before we do appointments on this, there's some procedural stuff with this that Ann and I have been talking about. So we have 4 subparts to the motion. There's a reappointment. Right now, Richard Bourbonnais is a Democrat on there, and Jerry Reynolds is the Republican.
That's right.
And Richard Leonard was unaffiliated and resigned.
Right.
So there's a 3-person board of canvassers, 3-person board, which so that Richard Leonard, who is unaffiliated, would be one that we're looking to fill. And then there's a possibility of alternates that we can also appoint. But then under the procedure, we're supposed to get lists from the chairs of the 2 committees.
Yes.
And we haven't really received them. So
Well, I got, for the
I haven't-
Republican side, I got Ralph Blasamo Jr. for an applicant.
right, but under the statute, the process for this is that the mayor or the president of the town council nominates the members of the canvassing authority from lists of party voters submitted by the respective chairmen of the city or town political committee, which list shall contain the names of 5 times the number of persons to be appointed. And then you guys as the legislative body basically confirm those appointments.
So we have to get a list from the chair.
And then I make the appointment, but you guys ratify it.
Okay, so how many names do you want from us since we have?
Well, we're going to have Ann reach out to our party chairs again. So what I was going to do was say, and I will do the same, okay? I will do the same as well. I'll reach out to Win and Meg. I want to share that I would like to see an unaffiliated person in the 3rd seat because it's an unaffiliated person who's leaving, and that way you have 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, 1 unaffiliated. So I'll urge them to give me unaffiliated names as well. They don't have to do that, though.
So we're only looking for one person?
No,
to
so
alternate.
we're looking, and then we could appoint alternates as well.
So are we looking for 2 people?
We could be up to 3.
We have 2 presently on it, right? 1
Right.
resigned.
Right, so 1 replaces, and then there's alternates, but the alternates, under the law, can only sit in for the same political party. So you can have 1 Republican, 1 Democrat alternate, but you can't have 2 Democrats or 2 unaffiliated or 2 Republican
Okay,
alternates.
so I did get a name from Wynn,
Right.
so I just submit that to you. I just said it, Carter Starr. So that would be the Democrat name that I put up.
And this would be the Republican. I mean, the thing is, we got to step it up. This is an election year. I mean, we got to either.
I agree, but I think I'd like to have more than just 1 name on each of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to appoint Jerry Reynolds for his 6-year term, a reappointment. So a motion to reappoint Jerry Reynolds to the Board of Canvassers for a 6-year term to expire March 1st, 2022.
Second.
All right. So and so basically then it's a vote to ratify that appointment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion approved 4-0. And then on the others, we're going to get the full list of other names because we're supposed to have more than just 1.
Okay, so, Matt, are you going to get the names, or should we get the names and give them to Ann?
I think to Ann, right?
Okay, so if we reach out to the chairs and ask them to submit a name, some names to the clerk, and then we could put it on for the next time? Because I know, too, it's an election, we want to kind of get things going, so we'll do that.
Stanley, want a job?
So March 7th, we will definitely have that on with the third person who will hopefully be unaffiliated, and then if we can get 2 alternates, that would be great too.
Good, because we have a meeting scheduled for the 8th.
Excellent. All right, so we will do that and promise. All right.
Getting
Next.
names for this committee is like pulling teeth.
But we did get Jerry reappointed for you. All right. 26. Item 26 is a motion to approve the meeting schedule for the budget process for fiscal year 2016-17.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Jeff, do you want to go through the highlights of this, just for the public, of these dates? Or want me to do it?
Sure. Well, we're through, about a third of the list already. The school committee will be having workshops on February 24th and March 2nd for theirs. March 7th is a capital reserve committee meeting, followed by a school committee third workshop on March 9th. The school committee is scheduled to adopt their budget on March 16th, and then the big milestone after that on March 23rd is that we submit the proposed budget to the town council. The first public hearing is scheduled for March 28th at 7:30 p.m. Second public hearing would be scheduled for April 4th at 8 p.m. And we have work sessions, obviously, in April as well with the department heads. Looking forward, we're anticipating the first reading of the budget ordinance on May 2nd. We'll post this on the website too, Matt.
Oh, good.
And then, Jeff, we will schedule publicly the work session dates on the budget for that mid-April, just to
Yes.
see what people's schedules look like.
Yep.
Just one quick question, Jeff. On March 28th, is that a public hearing for the town council on the school budget? Just the school?
Well, the town's sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to include both because we have to have 2 public hearings on the town budget. The focus will be on the school that evening, but there'll be the element of the town budget as well.
Understood, thank you.
And March 28th and April 4th are off nights, so those would both be,
Only up March 28th.
because April 4th is the first.
April 4th is
Yeah.
a regularly scheduled meeting.
Sorry. Okay, so on April 4th, we're doing it in the context of the meeting, March 28th though, as an off night. All right, any questions on that important budget process? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion approved 4-0. Just one point of information about the special planning board meeting. Ann, do you have the date on that?
February 29th?
So there was a snow day. We had the big snowstorm, and so the planning board special meeting on the 4 unrelated ordinance, what night are we having that for the public?
February 29.
At what time? 6 p.m. All right, so at 6 p.m., the 4 unrelated ordinance, that special meeting, that's going to be 6 p.m. in this room on the 29th of February. Is that correct? All right, that's so everybody understands that night. All right.
Yeah,
6 p.m.
That'll be a good one.
All right, just that point of information for scheduling, because we're not going to be here before that. Then finally, we initially had a motion to retire to executive session, but that is no longer necessary, so we're not going to have that, so I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Motion approved 4-0. Good night, everyone. Thank you.